Thank you for tuning in to the Doing Business with God podcast.
Hey, you. Yes, you. I am your host, Michi Renee.
It is Michi's passion to help you live your best life and do business God's way. Michi will be talking about entrepreneurship, manifestation, monetization, mindset, beliefs, starting and growing a business, nonprofit, or ministry, all while serving God. So welcome to My Daddy's Business. It's time for the show. It's the Doing Business with God podcast with your host, Michi Renee.
Hello, tribe. Welcome back to another episode of the Doing Business with God podcast, dedicated to helping you do business God's way. In this episode, I will be talking with the fabulous Taylor May. Taylor May is a life and business coach, social entrepreneur, speaker, and host of the Align to Achieve show. She guides conscious women and entrepreneurs to live in their aligned brilliance. I love that. In order to attract their ideal clients and unimaginable opportunities. Taylor May, welcome to the Doing Business with God podcast.
Hi, I'm so grateful to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome, and I am so happy you are here. Can't wait to talk to you. First of all, talk to me about what aligned brilliance is. I love that when I was reading your bio. So tell me about aligned brilliance. What is that, and how did you come up with that?
Yeah. Oh, let's see. I feel like the concept of aligned brilliance is becoming like my signature thing. And it's so funny because the concept itself wasn't new, but that name, aligned brilliance, like just kind of jumping into the spiritual here, I literally was my home and I was going to like the restroom, like I was opening the door to go into the restroom and it was like, whoo, like, you know, when like God speaks and you're just like, whoa, like that wasn't from me. That's totally what happened. It was like this name, aligned brilliance. And I was like, whoa, where did that come from? Right. And so I just went and I like sat with it and I was like, yes, that is the name that totally describes everything that I'm trying to help people do. Because I guess, background, some context, I come from a business background, a marketing background, first in like an agency setting, but didn't last there very long because I knew I wanted to do my own thing. And so turned into helping other people with their marketing. And I later kind of found out like having this vision of just helping people just with their social media and their branding and their website, all that stuff, which is important, actually wasn't fully serving the clients that were being brought to me because I saw that they weren't actually in alignment with who they really were on the inside first. And so it was like having the eyes to see that. I was like, I'm not in integrity by just helping you do your social media because of course it's not going to be as powerful as it could be if you actually knew who you were, you actually knew what you were made to do, and you were speaking from that place of power.
Yes,
and so,
yes.
yeah, so that's where that aligned brilliance, I was like, yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to help people do first. And then of course, right, add the strategies on top and all of that. Like that's like the nerdy side of me that loves supporting people in that way too. But really, my heart is that core transformation there. So yeah, that is what I'm so passionate about and what I'm every day. I'm like working on this like framework for it. And hopefully when this podcast comes out, that framework will be able to be explained so clearly and people will be able to really take their own trajectory of what that journey looks like for them.
Awesome. So how long have you been in business? So yeah, tell us about your business, what you are doing, how you got to where you are now. And yeah, I would love to know your story. Share.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I always love to start from graduating high school, funny enough, because I grew up as a pre-professional dancer. And
wow.
That was my life. That was my family's life. And that's important to say because that was my identity too. Like I was Taylor the dancer. From in my community, that's who I was known as. And so kind of again, with that still small voice, that Holy Spirit nudge, when it kind of came time to actually looking at colleges and, you know, doing that whole thing, I felt like that's not what I'm supposed to do. Like I'm not supposed to continue on a professional dance track, even though that's what everyone around me was expected of me. Yes. And what I expected myself. So like leaning into that revelation and actually stepping forth like boldly in that was so like scary. But I look back at that moment and that's so reflect so many other moments coming up that I didn't know were ahead of just kind of going against the grain and doing things my own way. And so that's kind of where that first step started. And then I ended up studying in college communications and public relations. And then, as I mentioned, I made a marketing agency in Detroit for a very short while because, well, I knew it would be, good experience it was the right thing to do, right? Everyone's like, go get the corporate job, the security, all of that. But I just sat there and I'm like, I know. I'm like, I can't do it.
Say that people should have that experience. I don't say that you go there and you work 30 years, but
yes,
a couple of years of experience working in a corporate background, learning business, learning how to communicate, learning how to work on a team before you do your own thing. I suggest it.
Yes.
No, I don't say you bury yourself there, but I do suggest people to go and work in a corporate environment.
Yes, I so agree with that. And I always say, like,
we hope that you are enjoying this episode. If you would like to be a guest, check the show notes for all the details. Let's get back to the Doing Business with God podcast with Michi Renee.
One of the hardest parts of starting a business, so I'm young in my career still, but to that point of so grateful that I did that was because of the network connections that I did make within there. Because I think it's so often like right in Instagram world where it's like, just go do it, just like go start your business. But it's not just about posting like a fancy Instagram that's going to make you get business. It's all about relationships, right? Yeah. And so I totally agree with you there. And so I would encourage people to do the same. Just it's like, look, if you look at it, if you know you want to be an entrepreneur, looking at that as like training school. And it totally was for me, even though I hated it. A lot of the time. And so had that whole experience. And then also, as I mentioned, started doing my own marketing company, own marketing work, grew a small team of people, just helping people with, websites and branding and social media management, just really taking that, load off of the doing piece and playing that role of helping people get out of the weeds so they could shine bright doing what they were really meant to do. But then, as I said, kind of had shift in revelation of, oh, wait, I see something a little different here. And I really want to help people at the core of who they are first. And so I've been really living into that since then.
Awesome. So how long have you been in business? What was your actual entrepreneurial journey? How's that been?
So I have been, like 3 years now doing my own business. And so I started it while at the agency and was kind of doing the little, side hustle, multitasking, and then just kind of jumped in and made the leap. I had some clients going on and I was like, all right, I feel like I've gotten what I needed here and I'm going to tie up and try it. So it's been really a great journey.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's great. So what would you say for you? What was your biggest transition and your biggest transformation going from working for someone else to working for yourself? What was that like?
Oh, that's a great question. Transition, I think really the role of, right, like you're in charge of yourself. Like, not that I ever was not independent. Like I always have been like a self-starter naturally, but like not having that like push from someone or that guidance, probably even more so, was a really big transition for me, right? Like I'm in charge of when I wake up in the morning. Like I'm in charge of how I spend my day. I'm in charge of like not overworking myself because I don't have set hours. And so I think that higher level of discipline was super huge for me and is still to this day something I'm figuring out as I go here. And so I would say that for the transition. And then for the transformation, I think, we always preach what we need the most. I'm always a believer in that and see that in other people. And for me, it just has been this deep belief in myself and what I'm called to do, and believing in that so much that like I'm willing to put my whole life toward that. And instead of just the wobbly, like, oh, I don't know, oh, we'll see. It's like, all right, I'm either going to cannonball into this or I'm not, like, and into the work and into myself and into God. And so I think that's been and continues to be the transformation is just this deeper dive into like believing in who I am and loving who I am. And the more I do that, like almost like a tree, like my roots grow deeper in that, like the higher I rise. And I see that with the people I get to work with as well. So that's what I'd have to say to those.
Yeah. So what type of community is Tailor Made building? Who's your tribe?
Yeah. Oh, I love that word. My tribe is a community of conscious women who are dedicated to knowing who they are and impacting the world with their unique gifts, is what I would say. And that are willing to be generous and kind and learners and make mistakes. And I stand against like the connotation of like the girl boss hustle culture, like that's
Hustle,
right,
I can't stand that. No,
right.
I'm anti-hustle. If you are
Yes.
with God, there is no hustling because you
Amen.
rest in the fact that He's got you. He's the
Yes.
provider. He's going to make it happen, not you. So I'm anti-hustle. That's
Yes.
I help is the high achieving Christian women who want to ditch the hustle to be in alignment and flow. That's part of my
Yes.
elevator pitch. It's like, come on, you don't have to do that. You can be in alignment, you can be in flow, you can be in grace and still be killing it in your business without having to hustle.
Yes. Isn't that like the best feeling too when you're in
Yeah.
it so much more fun? Like when you're like, I know I'm going to be taken care of, so I'm just going to like go like create a bunch of amazing things and go help a bunch of amazing people and then like know along the way like the money in my bank account's going to show up when I need it, like and exactly how I need it in abundance.
Yes.
That's so like this conversation is so unconventional, right? From especially I've seen in like female business circles. It's almost, I was having a conversation with,
Counterintuitive. It's almost
yes,
counterintuitive. Like we were taught and like, oh, you gotta hustle, hustle, hustle. You gotta make it happen, make it happen, make it happen. Been there, done that. I worked in corporate America for a long time. I'm older than I look. And that's what I did. Hustled, grind. That's what people tell you that you need to do to be
yes,
successful. But that's the world's way. That's not
yes,
God's way. All He asks us to do is trust and believe, to serve people, and you'll receive,
yes.
peace of mind all day, every day.
Every time. And like when you're in that peace of mind, you actually create more innovative things from that place and more beautiful things than you do when you're in hustle mode, just trying to make it happen. Like that's the irony of it too. So, yes, I agree with all of that.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
At Travel Genie, we make your travel dreams come true. We customize your trip. We create itineraries, book airfare, hotels, cars, and event tickets. We don't just book travel. We create experiences. Travel Genie has 4 trips planned for 2021. San Francisco, Essence, Toronto, and Bali. A $100 deposit gets you started. Use the link below for more information. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Travel Genie 2017 and online at travelgenie.com.
Being that this is the Doing Business with God podcast, how do you do business with God?
Oh, I feel like it's just not separate. Like, yes, I
It
know. Like
took
it's
me a long time to get to there, though. I would compartmentalize God in my business and I kept it separate. Too much energy
wow.
to do that.
Yeah. And it's like, whoa, if I'm a temple of the Holy Spirit, that means the Holy Spirit is closer than my breath and guiding me in every moment. So that means in every moment, I have the choice to either ignore that or I can lean into that voice and I can trust that and be headed in that way. And so I think exactly to that, like it's that integration from compartmentalizing as like, God is up here. Like that's a question I love to ask people. It's like, where's God? And like when I just asked someone that recently and they're like, God's out my door. He's out my bedroom. I'm like, God's
No, God's
sure.
with you.
God.
He's
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
here with
Yes. I'm like, sure.
you.
God's omnipresent. He's there too, but like he's here. That's where so yes, I would say that's how I do it. Like prayer is huge for me, and prayers looked so different for me, then it's like, oh, I just like go to my knees and I pray. Like, sure, that's a part of it. But like prayer has become like just being in the present moment, and it's looked like moving and like going on a walk with my dog and
Yeah.
dancing and just taking a moment to return back of like, whoa, I was just really overwhelmed. Can you bring me back? Like back to center. And so I would say, yeah, it's hard for me to put words to it,
Yeah,
honestly.
I know for me, yesterday, I was sitting and just, allowing God to minister to me, just sitting
Mm,
quietly, no TV, no
wow.
distractions, turn the phone off. And, I tithe, I give offerings, I sow seeds, I do first fruits, like all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, God, what's going on? I'm missing something. I know something is going on that I'm not reaping more blessings that I know I should have coming.
Mm,
And when I went to my Bible, and what came into my Holy Spirit is you're not praising and worshiping enough.
mm,
What came to me is when praises go up, blessings
yes.
come down. So the more
Yes.
you're praising God, the more you're worshiping Him, the more, because prayer is another form of praise and worship. When you're talking to
Mm-hmm.
Him, not us begging and pleading and asking God for stuff, but just thanking Him and reverencing Him and loving Him and all of those things in that moment yesterday. That is what came alive for me. I'm not doing enough praise and worship.
Wow. I got a picture when you were just saying that. Like, it almost sounded like that was a moment of like remembrance of like you almost coming to God of like, I need more, right? Like, I think of like, it's like an orphan mentality, right? Like, I need more, I need more. But like in that moment, God's like, you're my child.
Right.
Like, yeah, I got you. Like, praise me to remember that, like, you're taken care of, So it's
Yes.
like, it's for us, the shift has. So I don't know. I just got that
Yeah.
picture you're saying that. And it's like, I think that's really what doing business with God actually could be summed up for me as is doing it as a child of God instead of an orphan trying to make it happen on my own.
Yes.
And so,
That was the remembrance yesterday is,
mm,
I'm trusting and believing God for every area of my business, for the
mm,
salaries, for my employees, for,
yep.
the services that I need in my business and all of that stuff. So I'm like, okay, God, what is going on? These salaries need to be paid. What am I not doing? That's